Hi, my friend. It's Ty Hicks, results coach and national influence and leadership trainer. Very excited to have you here with me today. What I wanted to do is take a few minutes to cover a topic that I get asked about all the time. My clients will often come to me and say, Ty, look, I know what I want. Okay, I've done that much at least. I know what it is that I want to improve, but for some reason, there's some stickiness. There's a friction between what I want and actually making it happen. How is it that I get over that? Is it a matter of willpower? Is it a matter of a system or a strategy that I'm missing? What gives? Why can't I just get myself to do these things that I know I need to do? And my response surprises people sometimes because it may not seem like it's automatically giving you new information, but the response is always that you haven't raised your standards. And what I mean very clearly about a standard is a non-negotiable line, a line in the sand of your mind, if you will, where you say, look, I don't care, there is no other option except for this, which is now the new decision that you're going to be making. Most people are not getting what they want in life because they've chosen to settle for what they are willing to tolerate, meaning that they may not have everything that they prefer, but they haven't gotten clear on what it is they are willing and not willing to tolerate, and therefore they're tolerating far less than they should. They're tolerating far less than they deserve to. So how you actually raise a standard, I think, comes down to a couple simple steps, and it's a little easier said than done, but let's talk a little bit about that. The first thing that I always recommend that you've got to do, if you are experiencing a disconnect between, on the one hand, wanting your life to be one way, and on the other, actually manifesting it to be a different way, then what you've got to do is, first of all, understand what that inner conflict is, okay? Get clear about what it is. So, if it's, well, I want to be healthy, and I want to, lose some weight, but I just can't follow through on my diet for some reason, or I can't get myself to the gym. Okay, let's just get really clear about what that conflict seems to be. And the clearer you are on what it is that you actually do want, the better. Okay, so for instance, you don't want to just say, well, I want to lose weight. That's not helpful. We need something clear and measurable where you could know whether or not it's actually been achieved or not. So for instance, losing 15 pounds of fat and gaining 5 pounds of muscle, that is something that could actually be measured. That is something that could be, noticeably achieved, or it could be something where you could say, okay, I haven't made progress in that area. So we need to make it clear and measurable. That's number one. And then understand clearly what is the behavior that is manifesting that's keeping you from getting what it is that you want. So now we've got clarity on what the conflict is. Okay, now the second step is we've got to get clear on what it is that you've been settling for. Remember how I said that you might not be getting what you want necessarily, but you are getting what you're tolerating? Well, now it's time to get really clear about what have you actually been settling for. Okay, so if you haven't lost the 20 pounds and you haven't gained the 5 pounds of muscle, and instead you're, failing on your diet and you're eating this thing and that thing that you shouldn't be doing, right? Let's just get really clear on what body image that you're settling for, or whatever it is. You need to just get a very clear picture and stare it in the face. What is it that you're settling for right now? Because part of this whole process is you've got to get a little bit angry and disturbed about what it is you're settling for right now. You're never going to reach that sort of psychological breaking point where you say enough is enough unless you can actually get perturbed by what you're currently settling for. So take a good hard look at that. Now, number three is we need to understand why that has been the case. In other words, why is it that you're settling for the current level of outcomes that are actually taking place? Why is it that that limiting behavior or limiting belief has stuck around for so long? Now, you may recall that there are 6 needs that we all have to meet, that we all have to get fulfilled, right? This comes from human needs psychology, the work of Chloe Madonis and Anthony Robbins. And what we know is that if you're keeping around a bad habit, if you're keeping around a bad behavior, it's because it is meeting one or more of those 6 needs. The first one, certainty. Is it providing you with a basic sense of certainty and control? Number 2, variety. Is it giving you a way to meet your low-level need for variety and stimulation? Significance. Is it helping you feel special or unique, or different in some sort of way? Number 4, connection or love. Is it helping you get connection or attention from others, for instance? 5, growth, and 6, contribution. And usually when we have a limiting behavior, it's not meeting one of those two, but it is meeting one of the others. So what you really need to get clear on is, why is it that you're settling in this particular area, right? So for instance, going to the gym, working out, going on the diet might seem less certain. So staying home, eating what you know is familiar food to you, and not going out and making yourself be seen in front of the other people at the health club, that might be a way for you to meet your level of certainty at a higher level, for instance, okay? You also might be worried about meeting your need for variety. Perhaps your diet is not giving you enough variety, but eating whatever the hell you want is. So you need to find a way to get clarity on that, because if we're going to raise your standard, you've got to meet those needs in a new and empowering way that aligns with what you actually care about manifesting. Number 3, significance. So if you're not going out and dieting, or if you're not going out to the gym, but you're just gonna stick with your current habits, is there any sense in which you're getting significance from that? So one unfortunate truth that's one that I have to point out to you is, very often people keep their problems around because it makes them feel significant. It gives them something to complain about. It gives them a reason to get attention from other people. And so you need to take a good hard look if whether or not that's potentially a description of what's happening to you. Number 4, connection and love. Believe it or not, if your problem is not getting over an overeating situation, it might actually be partly because when you eat, you actually connect with yourself. And it's a very low level to meet that need, but we need to find a more empowering and enriching way for you to meet that need if you want to turn the behavior around. Okay, so getting clear on, first, what are you settling for? What do you actually want? And why is this current limiting behavior or pattern persisting? That's very important, because if we're going to raise the standard, you're going to have to meet those needs still, but you're going to have to do it in an empowering way. Okay, so that's what's really important, and that might be part of why you've been failing in the past, is you've tried to quit cold turkey, you've tried to change from this to this, but you haven't realized that you have to make sure that those needs are met in the new pursuit as well. All right, and then finally, there's only a 4th and final step, and that step is to make a real decision. Now, when I say make a real decision, what that means is to decisively say that you are going to cut off from any other possibility, that you are going to make it non-negotiable, that this has to happen, period, and that is it. And what you need to be able to do in order to get yourself to a spot of making a real decision is you need to get very associated to the long-term consequences of whether you stick with this current behavior or not. So what I recommend you do is you imagine yourself as an 80-year-old man or woman that's looking back on your life in your rocking chair, and imagine having not corrected that behavior. Imagine having lived your entire life, having never made this actual real decision to raise the standard. Imagine how much you would have lost. Imagine how much potential value you could have given the world, but you didn't. Imagine how it would have compounded over time and affected you. Would it have caused you to die early if you didn't course correct these health habits, for example? What are the real consequences? So you need to take a good hard look at that, and no one is going to be able to help you make that happen except for you. Or if you decide to, get the guidance of a coach, they can guide you to that place psychologically to get you to the point of threshold where you say enough is enough and I'm never going back. But that's what really raising a standard means, is you make a real decision. And a real decision is backed by deliberate action consistently applied time after time after time. Regardless of whether it's convenient or not, you make the decision and you stick to it. That's what it means to decide. Making real decisions is a skill that we all have, but we all very rarely exercise. And so if you want to build up the emotional muscle of making decisions and sticking to them, now is the perfect time. All right? You have to stop rationalizing excuses. You have to stop making it okay for you to hold yourself to a lower standard. It's not about what you want. It's about what you're willing to tolerate. So change what you are willing to tolerate, and all of a sudden, the standard is raised. So I hope you enjoyed this. My next video for you guys is going to be about how to kick anxiety's ass. I've got some concrete strategies that you'll be able to use to make sure that anxiety never gets the best of you again. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to raise your standard. Raise your standard today. Go out there and live with purpose, my friend, and contribute something to the world. I'm excited to talk to you again soon. Take care.